I just passed out. I literally just passed out.
Oh, I got you, brother. Don't worry about it, man. I passed out. Medication. So that's why I didn't get to email you and see how you was doing. I straight up was just like, but how you doing today, brother?
As I said in my earlier channel, by the way, I'm over the 500 subscriber threshold, so I have to, say it's a miracle. And thank you very much to Clint for sending some subscribers my way and growing my channel. Thank you so much. But I woke up to,
Something creepy.
to today just really, really hurt. Really, really hurt. I made a song about it and how I was feeling, but it's not enough. It isn't, because I have the petition for this 2% excise tax. It is 2 cents on the dollar. If Americans want to
Hmm.
buy a chicken nuggets and chicken nuggets are $1.99, you would just pay $2.01. Now, if you are a big celebrity like Britney Spears wants some chicken nuggets. She go down to McDonald's, she reaches in her purse. If the cashier says, well, the sign on the menu says it's $1.99, but you have to pay tax on it. Do you think Britney Spears would say, well, what's 2 extra cents to me?
Not really.
No, she wouldn't, because she pays tax already on it, just like everybody else does. Everybody pays taxes
Yeah.
already. People who say, I hate taxes, guess what? You still pay taxes. You pay state tax, you pay income taxes, you pay your taxes. But the taxes that go to the government haven't been paying veterans.
No, they haven't. They've been paying for other crap,
They've been paying
mostly war.
VA employees instead of paying for veterans. There are veterans who are out on the street right now, starving, hungry. The shelters are full. Where's their bed? Where is their bed?
Exactly.
But the VA
And
employee every Friday gets that check and they sleep well. They sleep well while we starve.
and that's not right. That's not right at all. To try to start a program here in Southeast Texas to try to help out some of our victims down, or our veterans down here. Might as well call them victims of the U.S. government. But
Thank you.
yeah, but no problem, man. But
I know you're
one
the
of
type
the
of person who's too polite to curse out the American government for how veterans are being treated, but I I say we should take that anger and use it constructively. Like, I'm not a revolutionary. This isn't a revolutionary idea. This is just simple justice. If you come out
yeah, it's a simple
blown
idea that many
limbs,
people have had.
off, and you come off because you've been raped or you've been just abused the whole entire time, you're a broken person. You do not work. You cannot work. And then the American government says we would rather pay someone to tell you no than to pay you. That is
Yeah,
injustice
I
in
know, right?
America.
That is injustice, is all it is. And this program that I'm wanting to set up is because we have such a hog problem, as you can see. You know, um,
Hi.
we need. Yeah, I shot this big guy last year. He was 250 pounds. But I want to take and start trapping these things because they're driving the deer out, they're driving the alligator out, they're driving everything out of the forest that I grew up in. So I want to start trapping these big buggers, slaughtering them, and giving the meat to veterans who don't have money. That way it's like, hey, look, at least you got your pound of flesh, to feed you every day. You know, and that was something I thought about doing with my charity, is literally just hiring people to go out and exterminate hogs so they could bring back the meat to give to veterans. Oh, look, you're in the chat.
I decided to be kind, and if people want to know the spelling of my name, they can say,
Oh,
well,
I
this is
was I was about to
how to
say, look,
find.
we got another troll. Everybody's trying to pretend to be my friends. They're trying to call me racist.
I heard that you said that earlier, and it's not really true. But if you have something to say, it's freedom of speech. Like,
Yeah,
Americans are afraid of freedom of speech. They look at people like Nazis and say, "Shut the fuck up," but they don't understand that when they have to speak up about something, freedom of speech
somebody else
applies
is
to
going.
everyone. It really does. If you don't like what they say, then you need to say something. Like, get off
Exactly.
someone's back.
And quite frankly, what I've been telling them is, guys, y'all don't know me. Y'all don't know anything about me. Y'all just see what y'all see here on YouTube. I have a half black nephew. I love him to death. He is my little Oreo buddy. That's what I called him ever since he was little. And the only reason why I did that was because everybody around here wanted to call him something racial. So I told him, no, you tell him you're an Oreo, and everybody loves an Oreo. So, you know, that's just I couldn't stand the fact that they was calling me that. And then I had some people talking about bashing the gay community, and I was like, have you met my friend Ian? You know, it's been wild this past month, man. The trolls have come out like crazy, dude, and they're trying to destroy the channel.
You don't let them. You don't let them get to you. As often as I have trolls and terrible people that come into our channels, you still have to remember you have plenty of good people, and also they're just people on the internet. They're not people in your
Yeah.
life, and they're not helping you or hurting you in any way. They're just wastes of space, and you leave it at that.
Let me tell you this last thing for these trolls. Guys, y'all aren't hurting us. Y'all are giving us watch hours. Y'all are helping us on the road to monetization while you're trying to harass us in the process. So just remember that. You ain't doing nothing to us. In fact, I welcome you in. I bring on the fight because why? You're just giving me time on my watch hours. So bring it on. But that's just me.
You see the long road of it, and thanks to YouTube, you have a way to voice your opinion, because freedom of speech used to be, you had to get on a soapbox in the middle of town square and just yell as
The
loudly as
top of your
possible.
lungs.
And now it's, if you truly need to reach out to people, and I'm trying to reach out to veterans, because there are veterans who are stuck in this game because they say, well, it's the government and the VA has the power. It's like they never had the power. We are veterans. We have gone through training. We have bled for this country. We have sacrificed for this country. The country owes us. If we
Yep.
collectively say, we want this tax happens.
And
And
you see,
I'm
I
saying,
agree with
let's
that.
go directly to. I would love President Trump to just say, hey, I love my veterans. Please do this for the veterans, and just signs it into law. But
Yeah, I see him
what?
more instead signing in for porn stars.
If he doesn't, then I'm just gonna have to go to Netflix. I'm gonna have to go to Disney. I'm gonna have to go to McDonald's and all these major American businesses and say, if you add this in to your prices, your customers, if you pay $15.99 for Netflix, you pay an extra 2% on that. You're not really going to cry about it because you're a customer already. They already got the
Yeah,
content. You already pay for it. You don't even look at it. It just comes out your credit card or your bank statement, and you don't care. You don't care because Americans don't think of the taxes that they pay as caring about us, investing us as fellow Americans and citizens, as people who can help your community. You know what a veteran most likely does? Community service. A veteran is more likely to be civic minded, take care of things that other Americans would just walk away. They help the elderly. They help in soup kitchens. They dig ditches. They make sure that when a hurricane comes, there's sand. They do that for people. Other people don't do that. And it's time America steps up and accepts some responsibility. 2% tax, it should be higher.
Yeah.
But I said, you know what? Clint made an excellent point. Excellent point. I thank you for that. Law enforcement and fire department and those kind of people, teachers, they need increase. They need that 5 to 10%, even more than the veterans, because all these young
Speaking,
people coming up, they need the most protection and the most education that they can receive. And the only way to do that is if you tell your teachers, I want you to focus on your class, I want you to focus on your students, because these teachers are so poor now they're doing OnlyFans.
yeah, I know.
So your
And
your
they're
third
getting
grade
fired
teacher is
for
on a
it.
stripper pole because you don't pay her enough, and then
And
she's
they're getting
using that
fired
time
for it
not
when they
to do
find
half.
out. They get fired for it when the school finds out. You know, it and they're just like, I'm just trying to make ends meet. You only pay me $9 an hour, you know? And I
Not
get it in a
deal with
yearly salary.
kids sometimes. Kids with
Yeah.
real problems, kids that threaten your life, and you have to take it every single day. You don't think a teacher goes to war because you see them in nice clothes and you say, you live in America. How hard could it be to be a teacher? You
You
don't
ain't
know
never been in
how
an
bad it
American classroom.
is. They suffer too. And they deserve
Yeah.
more money for that. And America has to learn you cannot take America for granted. You really can't. So what you're going to do is you're just going to end up paying more in taxes to go directly to veterans. Because right now, every single cent that they spend in department stores and movie theaters just goes to the VA employees. The veterans barely see a dime for it.
Yeah, it mostly goes to just supplying the VA, which is ridiculous because it doesn't really help anybody. Speaking of one of those first responders, we have our emergency team friend Bella here. She's a first responder as well, and she was one of the ones that got me thinking about it. Her and my friend Steven, who's also a first responder. That's the reason why I brought these guys up, because, if they're the first ones to run into the danger, like you said. Now, here's the other thing that we didn't think of the last time. They have to deal with biological problems in the same process. You run up on somebody and they just had a serious car wreck, they're bleeding out everywhere. You've got to put your hands on that person. And then you only find out a few hours later they had hepatitis or they had HIV or they had some kind of incurable disease that transfers through bodily fluids. So now you got to watch out and worry for the next year to 4 years just to make sure you didn't accidentally get infected by this guy. And I've heard of them having to deal with criminals that are in prisons, having to get them out and them spitting in their faces and people getting caught with AIDS and stuff like that because of they have to deal with this stuff as first responders. And what happens to these guys? Nothing. They end up like my friend Miss Aaron. She's on life support. All because of what she's had to go through, what she's had to experience. She's on permanent life support now. She's a first responder, and she had to do what you were talking about doing. She had to move all the way to Canada just to be able to get some help, just to be able to get what she needs. And now she has a channel called Makeup Artist Aaron. It's a wonderful place to go to. She just does makeup tutorials. A man named Gary answers all of her questions for her. Don't ask about her condition, just read her bio because it's way too complicated to explain. So guys, just go check her out. But yeah, these are the reasons why I came up with first responders too. Because my uncle right now is going through counseling after being a sheriff from everything he had to put up with. You know, seeing kids in deplorable conditions where the parents had to be arrested, seeing, people murder their families, seeing people murder each other, horrible car accidents, animal maulings. He's seen all that. and now he has to go through therapy for it because he has nightmares at night about it, which is PTSD. So that's just a horrible, horrible thing. And you notice they're not coming on here calling me racist now. Ha! Sorry, I had to throw
You,
that in their face.
you can't be more American than saying we value our heroes. And when I hear what you're saying, you're talking about hazard pay,
Mm-hmm.
extra hazard pay folded into the job. Because when
Yep.
you choose to be a first responder, you choose to be a hero. You choose to risk your life for other people. When I joined the military, I'm not saying I would be pleased if I had a limb blown off defending the country. But if I was in a firefight, let's say, and it was the choice between having a limb blown off and pushing a serviceman out of the way so that they don't get enemy fire or something like that, I guess I'm the type of person who would just push. And
Yeah. I
when
just
I
pushed the guy out the way
the
and I
Echoes,
moved
they
on.
call me a masochist for having that kind of personality that I put others' needs before my own. But I say no, that's just because I'm a decent American. I'm the last action hero in that kind of way.
I love that movie, by the way.
It's one of my favorite movies because the guy is so outlandish and everything. But you want that attitude. You want someone to say, I will do everything. I will be that hero. I will stand in the face of tyranny and injustice and put myself in harm's way. When I start talking about this 2% tax, I'm guaranteed people will be like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that at all. And they're going to hate
No,
me
they're
for
going to
it.
be opposed.
But you know what? Hate me after America becomes a better place because this is a stimulus bill. It's a stimulus bill as well. It's not just reparations to veterans. If you give veterans their due amount, guess what they're going to do? They love America just like us. Everybody loves America. They're going to spend in America, most likely.
Yep.
So they're going to go out to restaurants that they couldn't afford anymore. They're going to go to the movies a little bit more. They're going to choose vacations and go on holiday all the time, and they're going to buy houses. There's a housing market where they just say, nobody wants to buy a house. Nobody can afford a house. And you have veterans who are homeless, and guess what? If they had the money, they'll buy a house.
Yep. And you
It's a
see, I've almost
win-win
thought about,
situation. Veterans get what they're due, and America gets a nice stimulus. There is cash flowing through America because right now, these VA employees are sitting like hogs on a phone saying, no, can you hold for a minute? Oh, it's Friday. Where's my check? Oh, my check comes to me direct. It's direct deposit. While all of us are suffering, that is not going to happen anymore. So this tax is going to happen, and you are absolutely right. Veterans need to help other veterans. We need to start distributing food to each other, and we need to be able to share some expenses. Netflix, I'm going to cut your cord. I'm going to cut your cord out my life if you're not willing to start adding a surcharge to protect veterans in America. I don't care what is going on Bridgerton or any of your other shows. If you're going to say to me that you can raise the price for your operating costs, but my life is worth less than what you're charging, your prices will increase either way. But right now, you might actually gain more subscribers if you say, we took a stand, America, to give money to veterans directly and stop paying the VA.
yeah. And you see, here's another thing that I just thought of. You know, add that tax, but allow anyone with military background, first responder background, armed forces, anything like that, even down to a park ranger, anyone who has to deal with dangerous, hazardous jobs here in America, that are everyday bullcrap where they're defending our sacred places, they're defending our people, and they're defending our way of life. Anybody in that profession, should be able to get Netflix or Hulu or any of that stuff for free. And then that's when you add that tax to anyone who isn't. So that way you can pay for the ones who do. So that's just a simple thing that they could have done to save them that extra money that they're worried about. You know, just let the veterans come in for free. Let the first responders get it for free, as long as they can prove it somehow. Come up with some way where you got to send in a picture of your valid first responder ID or your military background ID or your papers, whatever. Send it in and they can review it and be like, okay, yes, you get a free account for life. You know, and then everybody else just has to pay a little bit more. I mean, every time they go up every year, every 2 years, every 3 years, they way and you complain about it then, but you still pay it. You still pay it. So there ain't nothing wrong with trying to help out a veteran who literally went off to die so that half the people in this country could be an asshole. You know, and the only reason why I say half is because I believe at least half of us have got a decent human being in us somewhere. you know. But there's a large percentage of this country that is just turned into entitled little pricks that think that they should get it all. And they haven't done nothing. Oh, I went through gender studies courses. So, you know, that you didn't go off and have bullets whizzing past your heads and bombs blowing up around you. You didn't have people shooting at you because you're trying to do your job. You didn't have people freaking, spitting blood all over you and, slinging other bodily fluids, God knows what. But, it's beside the point. You didn't have that. You struggled a little bit for your own life choices. That's why you struggle. These people struggled like my hold your pipe right, dang it. But these people struggle like my buddy Ian right here to literally make sure we have a better life. To what's up, Sean? Maxima? What's up, Maxima? What's up, Portia? How y'all guys doing? Of course, y'all know Ian. But yeah, guys, these veterans, I don't think that they should pay for a thing. I don't think they should pay for a single thing once they get out of the military. I think they should just be able to walk by, wave an ID, and get what they want.
The only way that
Why?
happens is if we say we deserve that. We value ourselves because every single day we have a choice as an American to just roll over and take it or to stand up for ourselves. I've
Exactly.
never been that person to take it. I talk about my military sexual trauma all the time. I'm a broken person because of it. I fought the entire time. I fought the entire time because that is who I am as a person. And now I'm saying I need Americans to fight appropriately. Just demand what you're worth. And this has its
Mm-hmm.
play for first responders and people who deal with difficult situations, teachers. They need that extra money to just deal with the craziness outside. And having just a card that says to veterans, you walk into this store and this card takes care of that bill for you
Yes,
automatically. No matter if you go to Best Buy or you go to the movies or you go to a restaurant. I want that for veterans now because
I do too.
there's no reason why you can't just get it done. It is common sense
Exactly.
because money isn't even that real. We make believe that it's real. The value of money is what you make of it. And sometimes we need to tell these businesses, you know what, give it to us for free because I am a disabled veteran who would love to go out and have a date. I would love to go take a walk in the park. My dog needs to take a walk, a long walk, a run. But you know what? I live in a country that I have to deal with
What's
gangs.
up,
I
Kentucky?
have to deal with my own PTSD. I have to deal with people who don't know how to drive a car, Trying to take this dog for a walk today, I had someone do a 3 point turn and almost crash into me. And I have
Wow.
to say, if you are the type of veteran who is broken and you say, what can you do? What can you do? You stay at home and you watch Netflix, but Netflix is $15.99 and you can't afford a house? So you want me to spend my money, the very little money that I have, to watch your programming, but I have to watch it in this war-torn, drug-addled country.
Yeah, I
It's
get you.
worth the cents that I spend. No.
Yeah, it's not worth the
We want
time
our
you
country
fought
back.
for it.
We want our country back, and you have to give us our dignity. So what I'm going to ask for is that 2% tax, and that is coming out of someone.
Yeah. And quite frankly, I think that 2% tax could easily come out of the people in the entertainment industry
Yes.
because we pay way too much to professional sports players. There's no reason somebody who throws around a football all day long it should ever make $1 billion. There's no reason for that. He should never make a billion. Couple 100,000, yeah, sure, make it a career for it. But billions? I mean, I saw a video the other day that almost made me sick, but I love the video. I love the show. It's called Tank Masters, and they build fish tanks. And
My boyfriend watched that show.
oh, nice. And there's this. They did this tank for this one football player. It's a giant koi pond, and it was over 300,000 gallons. And I'm just looking at it going, there's where my taxpayer money goes. So this guy can sit here and live high on the hog while I have to sit here and chase down the damn hog. You know? So much money, dude. It's not even funny, man. And guys, I Beyonce Knowles, okay? I have no problem against her personally. I don't know the woman.
Mhm.
But I will say this. Her demand for $40 million for as little as 15 minutes worth of screen time is ridiculous. I mean, your acting's not that good, lady. I mean, I'm gonna be the first one to tell you, your acting ain't that good at all. You know,
I,
you
I
act like the same character in every single show.
I am a huge Beyonce fan. I like Beyonce. I like Taylor Swift. I like them. But guess what? If you had $1 million less, just $1 million less, but you had fans who are veterans who could come see your show because they could afford a Beyonce ticket, and because
Yeah,
they love your music, and when they hear your music, they feel okay again after the
yeah.
trauma they've received. Please just find it in your heart. And this is what I'm trying to say. I'm not against the rich. I'm not against capitalists. I'm saying you need to include us back into America because
Thank you.
we're treated less than dogs here. They discard us out of the VA, and they discard us out of the military as broken people, and you can never get back what you lost. You have to make adaptations, and these adaptations, they cost money in some cases. In other cases, it's, well, you know what? You live with your buddies, you live on a farm. I want to start a farm, I want to eat farm fresh food. I keep talking to you about this Proposition 65 from Amazon, and Amazon gives you food that you can have delivered,
The
but that
60.
food is contaminated. And they sell you contaminated food. They inform you have contaminated food, and you buy it anyway because you say, I'm such a damaged person, I can't go to the supermarket and get it fresh. That's the
And you
country you
see,
live
my deal, that's not right. My deal with that is why the hell are you selling contaminated food?
in. Thank
You
you.
know, why the hell are you going to get your supplies from somewhere where you know it's contaminated? You know, and you're turning around and selling it for the same price that you'd buy it here in America. You know, that's just not right. If you're going to sell contaminated food, you sell that shit for 50 cents on the dollar. You know, for you cut that price in half.
because
and
you
then
cut
sell it.
lives in half. When you get
Exactly. You
cancer
might
from
cut somebody's
clicking on
life
something
by
on
50 years.
Amazon, and I don't mean to, shit on Amazon because they are very, very good company to even deliver to someone with severe PTSD. But you're selling me contaminated food. I will not let that go because you sell it to me and you sell it to other people.
And
You
who
sell
says
it
that
to
they don't have to?
Americans. That is wrong.
There's people that have to feed their kids with that. There's people that have to feed their kids with that. Contaminated food ain't going in my kid's mouth. It's gonna be wild, farm raised, or it ain't gonna be nothing at all. And preferably I prefer wild because that's how it's supposed to be.
You know, I would rather have someone like you out there trying to bag a deer and at least get me some fresh food instead of constantly looking at these companies and expecting them to treat their customers ethically. That's not happening. So I need to say 2% or higher to give to veterans because a lot of veterans they do farm training. They learn how to run a business so that they can
Somebody shoot
grow.
the gun.
And that's what we need. We
Somebody
need
shoot.
trusted veterans to start being suppliers and say, if I grow it, it's grown in good, decent soil that isn't going to make you sick. No herbicides, no pesticides, no fungicides, no added chemicals, no hormones, none of that. We need to value veterans and say, if we're not going to pay you that much, we're going to pay you the very minimum because I'm saying the 72 billion breaks down to $4,000 a month for every veteran.
Yeah,
That's not a lot of money. That is the least you can pay. CEOs get millions, billions. Sports stars, millions, billions. Entertainment, millions, billions. $4,000 a month is nothing. It is a spit
yeah.
in the face, but veterans are clever. They can take that money and they can transform that into the wealth that they want or the comfort that they need, the health that they need. Some of them just need to pay a doctor to get specialists done. Some of them need rehab. I talked about, people with their limbs blown off. You know how expensive rehab is? Consistent rehab with someone that you could trust? The
I had to
VA
go through it.
offers people, but sometimes those people are just as abusive. You want to go to someone you can trust, which means you have to pay them out of pocket,
Mhm.
out of your pocket. And veterans, in those kind of situations, they need that money, and they need that money now. So I'm
Oh
not
yeah,
playing
they do.
around anymore. I want that bill to be passed because it's a stimulus bill. Once that person gets rehabilitated or they have their adaptations, they're going to go out and do stuff again. They're going to go out. They're going to spend that money. So that theater that was going to close can stay open. That restaurant's going to stay open. It helps America to help the most vulnerable parts of our population. And I want to cry right now because I think about the suffering that these people have, and they don't have representatives even in office who are supposed to do their job. Your senator, your House of Representative is supposed to be able to go to Senate and tell them that veterans need this kind of thing, but they don't want to do
I
that.
mean, even during the Civil War, all right, people who served on both sides were given land and were given livestock. That happened in the American Revolution. That happened all the way up to the Civil War. That happened all the way up to World War One. World War I, people were given land. Now it was taken away right afterwards because of the stock market crash, but they were at least given land. You know, they fought hard for it to keep it. My grandpa was one of them out here. You know, he was World War I vet. He fought hard to keep his place for his family, and he died protecting his place for his family with a gunshot with the cops. You know, he had a standoff with the cops just to make sure his family could have what they had. And my grandpa joined World War II right after, he got the chance. And he went off and fought, and then he got this place. So we've been here ever since. So we've been here since 1940s, and before that, we were transferring stuff all around the nation, you know. Nacogdoches, Canada, everywhere. My people have been everywhere. And we are literally a family of veterans. There's a veteran in every single generation in my family. And man, those guys don't get nothing. They hardly get anything. They earned everything when they got back. It's like they had to start all over again with these skills that are only meant to kill, because half of them are Marines, and I mean, you've been in the military, the old saying, if you want to be, no offense to the Air Force, if you want to be lazy, join the Air Force. If you want to be intelligence, join the Navy. Or no, it was, if you want to be tech, join the Air Force. If you want to be intelligence, join the Navy. If you want to be a professional, join the Army. If you want to be a killer, join the Marines.
Yeah, I like to refer to the Marines with the knife hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that's how they are trained. They are trained to just do that.
Point this way.
It's like they don't have the opposable thumb anymore because they've just been trained to be killers, and that doesn't
Hmm.
translate to a lot of jobs. So guess what? They are out of work. They are out of work.
Hmm.
They are severely mentally
Traumatized.
severely. In order to create a killer, these people have to deal with so much abuse. And where's the caring? Where's the empathy for your fellow human being? Not just them. Where's the empathy for their family? Because
No kidding.
veterans do not suffer alone. They do not suffer alone. Families are missing their family members because they're veterans, and veterans are so damaged that you lose a family member.
Yep.
And we need to
Very
get
easily.
back. It's
You
time to
see,
get back.
we almost lost during a PTSD fit because he went nuts and started just unloading into the middle of the woods with the M16 right on the other side of those woods. It was only 20 yards worth of woods. So an M16, me and you both know, can go clean through that.
Mhm.
And we thought we almost lost him because he thought he had shot somebody because we started hearing somebody scream afterwards. But come to find out, all he had did was put a bullet through the window. So we almost lost him permanently for a murder charge because he had a PTSD fit and couldn't find anybody to help. He couldn't find the help he needed. So instead, he just delved into alcohol. Whiskey, he drank beer, but that he drank a lot of beer, guys. I mean, 3 cases of beer a day, just to put up with his PTSD, just to put up with his problems. And he, like you said, was kind of broken and kind of mentally messed up, because he was not only in Vietnam, but he was a Marine Vietnam that was a pathfinder and a paratrooper. He saw the worst of the worst. The guys from Hamburger Hill, the real Hamburger Hill, not just the movie. That's the kind of stuff. Seeing POWs after saving them, where they've literally lost every bit of intelligence. But we see so many people walking around just smiling, happy, driving cars and everything like that. And then we see this guy on the side of the road, and all you want to do is say fucking bum and spit on him. But you never know, that guy could have went and fought in Kuwait. That guy could have went and served this country for 30 years and then got out of the army and had nothing waiting on him. Guys, and our veterans, they need our help. Once they come home, it's time to welcome them in with open arms. It's not time to tell them, well, you're damaged, we don't want you anymore. Guys, then why would you ever even sign up? The military is losing people in it. Friend Ian here and telling people how bad it really is, once you get in there. And we're losing people in our military because of it. They're quitting and very proud of it, to quit. And because of that, soon, guys, if we don't treat our armed forces any better than what we've been treating them, we won't have one. We won't have a military if we keep doing this, because nobody's going to want to sign up. And then what's going to happen? Going to march in. We're going to be America again. It's going to be somebody else's nation.
I don't want that on my.
And if that's the
I
case,
want that on yours.
your homeboy is running to South America.
You would have a good time there. That is nothing but swamps. Nothing but swamps and jungle. You love a good swamp. You got it.
Yep. I'll be down there with all the caimans and the anacondas and the capybaras and all that. I'll live on the Amazon in a houseboat. Come on, mess with me. I'll fish all day.
I'm glad that you brought up the drinking that veterans with PTSD have to deal with. I used to drink super heavily when I came out of the military. I used to, because it's the only thing that could numb the pain. It's the only thing that could give me a moment's rest from the flashbacks and the nightmares. If you're drunk all the time, then you're just not yourself. You're not.
Yeah.
But
It
I
tears you
started
down.
to look at my refrigerator and look at these labels, and I'm paying these companies, Stella Artois, I'm paying Bush, I'm paying Miller, and they're making millions and billions off of broken PTSD and handicapped veterans who turn to you for the medical help that they should be receiving. But they're
Yeah.
not. So they'll just spend their money on these beverage companies, and these beverage companies get a huge chunk of money from veterans' pain. And you know what? If you want to enjoy a beer, enjoy that beer. But remember that the veterans who have to drink that are drinking that because that's the only relief that they have, because Americans are so stingy, so selfish that they don't want to help us. So they would rather drink their bodies away, their families away, their loved ones away. How many wives and husbands have to leave their veteran because the veteran is just a drunk, a miserable drunk all the time? Instead of being,
Mm-hmm.
well, this veteran went to psychological counseling, this veteran went to rehab because they could afford a rehab. You know how expensive rehabs are?
Oh, God. You know how expensive
10,000,
a mental
hundred
hospital
thousand
is?
a month, sometimes a day,
You know
10,000 a
how
day for a veteran to go seek some alcohol counseling, and they need it
Yeah,
because
it's the same for mental recovery. Dealing with schizophrenia, rehab ain't no different from going into a mental. Just to recover from my own problems. But I just had a great idea. Your little 2% tax. What about taxing all these big name food brand companies? Like Coca-Cola. For 2 cents off of every Coke they sell must go to a veteran. 2 cents off of every Dr. Pepper. 2 cents off of every Pepsi. No matter what it is, you make these entertainment companies pay that tax. You'll get a better chance of getting them to do it than you will the people.
I'm not a politician in the slightest. I would love to see this bill be made national law.
Oh yeah,
That's a lot of red tape. I'm going to cut that red tape and say all of these entertainers, all of these streaming companies, all of these food companies, all these beverage companies, they're going to take it as a surcharge, just tack it onto their
yeah,
bill. And
yeah.
the veterans either will pay free and therefore be able to recoup some of their own very small amount of money,
Mm-hmm.
and The other subscribers, they're just going to pay for something that they're already enjoying, but maybe have
Yeah,
to
they're
spend
already paying for
extra cents on that dollar. They won't even think about it because every time there's a Netflix surcharge, people are like, "I'm canceling the subscription. I'm canceling it. I'll never go back." You went back. You went
it.
back and
And they're right
bought it.
back. They
You
pay for it.
clamored to tell people about it. So if you're gonna pay for a surcharge for Netflix to raise theirs, then you're gonna raise it for veterans, for us, for Americans. America
Yeah.
first. Make America great again. You want to say that? You're gonna
Then
pay us.
actually do it.
You're gonna pay us then.
Yeah, actually do it. You know. By the way, I forgot to ask you what you think about my little setup here, my little
It,
display.
it is absolutely beautiful. I wish I knew more about taxonomy to be able to tell you what creature that is.
It's a hog.
I didn't know the heads looked like that. I didn't know they had teeth like that. I was about to say, I,
Yeah.
I don't know who that is.
This is a piney wood rooter, Texas wild hog. Shot him
Wow.
last year. In fact, there's the bullet hole. So yeah, just a piney wood rooter. He's about 250 pounder. Oh, and he's losing teeth. That's okay. Necklace.
Veterans are losing teeth. Calcium deficiency is something
Is a
that
huge problem.
affects veterans because they don't have the kind of money or they don't have the mental faculties when you have PTSD and you would rather spend your money on beer than on milk. And
Yeah.
as a caring person, I'm not the type of person to look away. I will not look away from this. If you tell me
No,
that
I
a
got you.
veteran cannot afford milk in America, I have a problem with that.
Yeah, I have a problem where people can't afford food for their kids.
Mhm.
I have an issue with that. I have an issue where disabled Americans can't afford to live into anything that isn't falling apart. I mean, my friend is literally septic over there where I just moved from. He is septic. That means he's got an infection in his blood because of the house he lives in. It's falling apart, guys. And he unfortunately can't do nothing to do anything about it. He can't afford it. And now they hit his wife with $800 a month in child support. So they went from $1,300 a month down to whatever they got a month now, because I don't feel like doing the math. But
$500.
they it's very little. It's a lot less than what they had, guys. And it's not right. It's not cool that I've got to sit back and watch my friend die while this rich dude over here gets a new kidney the same day he finds out that he's got kidney failure. All because he's got more of this and better insurance. Guys, when did we start giving a shit about bureaucracy? When did we start giving a shit about, you know, all this bullcrap that we've been dealing with here lately? We've got a lot of things that don't matter. We're more worried about what, no offense, we're more worried about what Taylor Swift is doing right now than we are what our president is doing. Do you guys realize he got a $4 million yacht for making a deal with another country that's been enemies of ours for years? $4 million yacht, from what I heard. It was either a yacht or a plane. Either way, he got some kind of vehicle out of it. And it's ridiculous.
That he can't
He's
even
selling
drive
us
or
off.
use because he's the president, and therefore he has to use Air Force One and the motorcade that they have already assigned to him because you're the president, so you can't enjoy any of that. So it's just a waste.
Oh no, he's demanding that he gets to use that plane. He's demanding to use that plane and not Air Force One. A tradition since the big plane had been invented. He has chosen to no longer use Air Force One.
Sounds like we
Yeah.
need a new president. Sounds like we need some veterans to get on some campaign trails and take the country. He doesn't want that plane. Well, I think I might just look lovely in it. I think I
Hell,
might
I'd
look
live on that
lovely
damn plane.
in that kind of Oval Office because I think I have a better domestic stimulus package plan than
Yeah.
what's being currently offered.
Yeah, I believe you do too. I think you refined it a little bit more. Could somebody possibly look at it and do a little bit better because they're an economic engineer? Maybe. But
Hmm.
I think we came up with a pretty good idea, just the other day. You know, um, hey, it's no problem, E Town. I welcome everybody. Man, it's like I've been telling everyone. Thank you, E Town. But it's like I've been telling everybody. I might be a straight American man, but you're my brother, dude.
Thank you.
You went and you fought for this country. We made friends with each other. You're my brother. I don't care if you like it in the, what or whatever. You know,
Not
that's
lately.
your
I
choice.
might as well be a nun with my rosaries right now. I get no. I don't even talk to guys. I see guys down the street, and I should be going, give me some of that. But you know what? I can't do that. I can't even laugh about my place. I can't do any of it because I am such a damaged person. I'm such a damaged person that I can't have I can't have love. I can't have
No, that's
friendship.
unfortunate.
I have you as my friend, and I'm glad for it because you're the only person who can talk to me at this point because I have such psychological damage. I can't let anybody in, and that
My
hurts.
MOS was a 13 Bravo there, E Town. I was a cannon crewman.
I was a 27A. I want to say P, which is integrated avionics, communications.
I was Army, so I don't know Air Force.
So I
But
was a technician. I was
yeah,
an
I've got
aircraft
my live
engineer,
going. Why? What's up, Dad?
which is why
Yeah,
I'm
shut your mouth.
I'm trying to be a Martian. Uh, Literally a Martian. I'm trying to take as many people or just myself to Mars because I'm looking at this country. What is going on here? What is going on? Like, do you want to continue this, or do you want to say, look, there's a bunch of land, there is better science, there's better healthcare if you just leave? There's the whole swath of the Midwest. Nobody wants to go there. Nobody wants to go there because they say a tornado can touch down and finger of God, man, tornado, twister, finger of God.
Whoop
They're
de
afraid of
doo.
that.
I'm scared of a
They're
tornado.
afraid
Oh
of
my
that,
God.
but they don't want to have an engineer like myself come down to the middle of Kansas and say, how about we build the right house for where you live? You want to live
How
there?
about
You
we
want to live on that
do?
land? You want to live around tornadoes? Let me build you the proper housing for that because what you build goes right up into that tornado and it's your house is in that direction, it's in that direction. Go
Yeah, your
put
house
it
is
in the
over there,
wood
over there,
because
and
your
up
wood
there.
is over there and your wood is over there. As
Yeah,
opposed to saying, let me build you something that's tornado proof. And
and
your
that would
president
be an
wouldn't say
amazing
that.
thing.
I will.
That would
I
be an
say
amazing thing.
stay in Kansas if you want to live there, but let me build you what you need to make sure that you keep what you paid for. If you paid for a house, you built that house with your hands, great. Let me build you a better house, so therefore you still have a house to go back to.
No kidding. Or at least build better shelters for it and try to put in money for better research to be able to figure out when these things are going to hit, so that way people can get to safety faster. But no, we'd rather put research into things like how does this, no offense to my scientific community, because I'm kind of one of you guys, but we need to be able to earn these grants here, guys. But why does this bug poop yellow? Why that's the study I shouldn't have to have. Who cares why the bug poops yellow? You know, Now, if you want to be like, hey, this bug's blood has got some weird medical purposes to it. Now, I'll fund that. I'll fund that in a heartbeat because that goes to the betterment of mankind, not to the detriment of civilization. Because when you take and you do these strange little experiments these people want to do, you know, um, that are absolutely ridiculous. Like how to find the gay gene. There is no gay gene. It's a sexual preference. Get over it. You know, um, so they try to do all these stupid things. What's up, Ken? This is my buddy Ian. But they try to do all these strange, stupid studies. Guys, if you cut these things down, that money goes back into America. That money goes back into where it belongs. It doesn't stay in the hands of somebody who doesn't need it. It doesn't stay in the hands of somebody who's going to use it for stupidity, guys. It stays in the hands of somebody who's going to improve the planet, who's going to improve our chances of getting to other planets, who's going to improve our chances of having better roads, better lives, better health, better food. And yet, we don't want to listen to these guys. We don't want to listen to these guys. Why? Because we want to listen to the dude that's over there that has a big, giant, fancy truck with lights all over it. He's got fireworks going off all over the place. And he's got a rhinestone shirt on. And he's sitting there going, well, he doggy. No, 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 forget that. We don't want this dead gum entertainer. And that's what we have for a president right now is an entertainer.
You bought someone who was a reality star. And even as a reality star, I don't disagree with my president's policy on several things. I don't disagree with dismantling and firing the VA. And you're talking about research and, say, cut, research opportunities for people. I say, let's just trim the fat of the VA altogether. Let's
Yeah.
trim the fat of EPA. When he started firing people from the EPA and the forestry department, I actually said yes, yes,
Yeah, because
because half of those
we've been
people,
replacing them with younger folks that know what they're doing too.
thank you, younger people who actually care about the environment instead of just collecting a paycheck while pretending to care about the environment. The
Sorry, I
the
gotta stand up. My tailbone hurts.
the VA has employees that they're paying who barely do enough. They took my paperwork and they lost it for a year. If
Yeah,
that's not a fireable offense, I don't know what is. Fire every
exactly.
last
If
one
you
of
were
them.
there for
Give
five
them their
minutes,
walking papers. Tell them here's a cardboard box. Clear your desk because you don't work here anymore.
yeah.
Because now we're just going to pay veterans directly and they don't have to call you. They don't have to talk to you. You can go find another job because now you're unemployed. And then you're going to find a hard time to get another job after that. That's what I want. I want the VA to be completely dismantled and just the money go directly to the veteran. Because if a VA employee can afford a hot tub for telling a veteran, no, or we
No,
lost your paperwork, but let me go back and enjoy my hot tub. I've got a party. You know what? Let's put on the music and the beer and everything and have a good time while veterans are cold and homeless, starving.
you
Not
know what
my
I think they should do?
VA gotta go. The VA has to leave America. Dismantle that altogether.
You know what I think they should do? I think anybody who screws up and loses paperwork like they did with you, I think that person should take care of that veteran for a year and see what that veteran has to go through. Take care of them for 1 year, mandatory, and see what that veteran has to go through every single day of their life. Either that or they get to switch spots. The veteran gets to take your job and your home and your vehicle. You get your clothes and your personal stuff, find somewhere to store it. Hope to God you can keep it out on the street and see what you can do, you powder puff. I mean,
That
no offense.
that veteran employee who lost my paperwork for a year, I don't want them to suffer. I would say, why don't you go to a veteran retirement home or go to a veteran hospice and have to change some bedpans.
Yeah.
Wipe that
Change some
American
bedpans
ass.
out.
Wipe that American ass for what you did to a veteran for losing their paperwork for a year.
Yeah.
Because
That's another good.
you should be in jail for negligence.
Yeah.
Negligence against
That's another
an
great idea.
underserved, vulnerable population. You should be in jail for that. But if they're not going to do that, I say you should be have that sentence commuted to community service, and you change some bedpans for fucking
Yeah.
over a veteran.
You
Because
have to
you
live
should
off of
know
their.
how difficult it is to be handicapped, how difficult it is to be in a wheelchair when you used to walk, you used to run, you used to throw catch with your kids.
Hmm.
But you can't do
I've got to
that
see it
anymore.
every day in my friend's
Change
face.
bedpans for that crime of being so careless that you lost paperwork for a year.
And you
These
see my
days,
friend
put
when.
skate on everything.
And you see my friend whenever I lived over with him and I was taking care of him. Every now and then I had to change a bedpan or I had to clean up vomit, you know, some other kind of bodily fluid. Thank God it wasn't splooge. But anyway, but I had to throw a joke in there, man.
Thank
But
you.
I had to clean up all kinds of bodily fluids, blood, urine, pus, all kinds of crap. And you know what? I did it without ever even batting an eyelash, without ever even complaining. And the reason being, that man deserved it. He did nothing wrong in his life. He never hurt anybody. He was actually a football player that didn't pick on everyone. He actually fought for those that were bullied whenever I was in high school. That's why me and him are friends. And nobody, not even his own family, would help him when he got out of that hospital. Whenever he went into that wreck, nobody came and seen him for 2 years straight. Nothing but doctors poking and prodding on him with needles. So he had a terrible experience with that, and it's very, very awful that he has to go through this every day. But you know what? I want to see one of these pampered, overstimulated kids that they have up in that VA hospital right now that's more worried about playing on texting their friends on Discord or Instagram than they are about doing their job. They want to talk about, girl, you ought to seen this boy last night. No, I don't care about your little talk with your girlfriend. It can happen afterwards. You know, it can happen afterwards. I don't care about you talking to your grandkids or something like that. If I'm there and I'm a veteran, I want your help. I don't want your attitude. And if you give me attitude, then you should go somewhere where you got to put up with attitude every day. Go, like you said, go to a VA housing situation where they got to change bedpans, where they got to deal with people who are disabled, where they've got to sit there and listen to the cries of agony from these people because they're like, my legs, or they're screaming, oh my God, I can't believe it. I'll never be the same person again. Or they're screaming, just kill me. Or they can't even scream at all. They're just, because some of them get real bad shell shock, guys, major brain damage. I've been there. I've seen these things, and I hate to do the visual with but it it proves a point.
You can't
You
look away.
know,
You, you, you
no, you can't
have
look
to.
away from that.
You
You
have
have
to see
to
this.
look at the
You have to
problem.
see this. And I
You
want
have to look at.
America to see veterans again. Don't just drive past the person with a sign and think that you're such a good, decent person. If you don't want to stop right then and there because maybe safety issues, let's be honest, and give them the time of day to tell them why you're turning them down, then you're gonna have to just suck it up and deal with this new tax
And you
because
see me,
that's
man, I just straight up tell them,
in 2025.
yeah. You see, I just straight up tell them, I ain't got the money, man. I'm in the same boat you are. I'm this close from being homeless, you know. And I hate to tell them that. I really do. But it's $340 a month or $374 a month. Is all I get. And I got to repair an RV. I've got to take care of my dog. I've got to take care of myself. I've got to buy my supplies that I need. There's so much that comes into it that by the time it's over with, I literally have 1 penny to spare at the end of every day. And if I give them 1 penny, it's an insult to me. I feel like that's an insult to them. I should be able to drop a $20 bill into their cup. I should be able to drop a $100 bill worth of food into their lap and say, go have some fun. That's what I feel like I should be able to do. But I can't. I can't do it for them. And it breaks my heart every single day because we got a veteran out here that we call Hungry because that's all he does. He just stands there with a sign that says Hungry. And every time I get a chance, I give that man some food. Even if it's raw, I'll give him food because he'll go out and he'll build a fire and he'll cook it on an open fire and he'll still eat. So we haven't seen him in a long time. I think he finally got some help, but
I
it's
love a story like that of you being so charitable, but you said finally got some help. How long did that person just
stay out on the streets.
stay out and didn't receive anything, didn't receive any guidance or any medical help that they could have needed?
Probably about a decade or more,
I'm
decade and a half.
I'm almost at that point with the VA. I'm almost at that point, and during this time period, it's not as if nothing else happened. A lot has happened. I've had to deal with a sexual assault that happened on LA Metro, or not LA Metro, it was Long Beach bus. I had to deal with a sexual assault that happened there where a woman fondled me on the bus because I wouldn't pay attention to her and talk to her. So she
And
got
you
so
see, I got
upset,
slapped
she
in
just
the face
grabbed
because I asked the lady to move.
she just grabbed it, and I screamed at the top of my lungs. They had to stop the bus, and I called the police about it, and they didn't investigate. They didn't do anything.
They don't care because it was a woman touching a man.
Hmm.
Had it been a man touching a woman, oh man, boy,
Sirens around the block for that.
no kidding. That's jail time. That's an international incident. That's painted all over the social media. That goes everywhere.
I've been
But
assaulted with a hate crime twice in this neighborhood that I live in because it's all that I could afford. I've been punched, kicked, called a fag while being punched, kicked, and all I can think is, yeah, I'm mad at these criminals, these people who sexually assault me, these people who physically attack me. But you know what? If I had my disability benefits, not even $1 million, just the bare minimum to say, look, if I have an apartment, I'll have an apartment in a place where the neighbors don't act that kind of way, or
yeah,
I'll move to a city, in a nice Texan town like you, and just say,
maybe
"Hi,
goose.
Gator. Hi." We go to brunch and have a good time. I live amongst good, decent people instead of these losers who want to attack a veteran, a handicapped veteran. I don't walk properly. I walk terribly because of my Air Force service. You
I
might as
walk at an
well call me
angle every time I
pussy
go to
for
work
it
because I
because
ain't
of
got nothing
how
in this ear.
bad it is.
Yeah,
But
I can't walk straight. I walk at an angle. I have to do this.
then you know how it is. But the VA isn't helping. The VA specifically designed to help veterans, and then
Is not helping veterans.
no. In that case, then you're fired.
Yeah,
I'm going to
because you see,
fire the Department of Veteran Affairs by just circumventing them by paying veterans directly. And you are absolutely right. If a veteran walks into a supermarket, blank check. What you can carry, what you can eat should be yours because it should be an automatic, well, I'll pay for that. Well, I'll pay for that. Everyone in that
mhm.
line should be able to just open up their wallets and say, you
Hey
are
man, you're
a
good.
veteran. You deserve this food more than I do.
Hmm. And yes, Penguin, I was in the military for a short amount of time. I don't consider myself a veteran, although Ian does. But I got blown up in basic training. I took a live grenade about 15 feet away from me, climbed up underneath the Striker APC. It blew up, and I suffered the concussive force damage, which destroyed my inner left ear because my earplug fell out. So, yeah, that's what happened to me. Got me sent home. Yeah, I got blown up by a grenade. So that's something else I can add to the list. Because I've already been shot, stabbed, set on fire, blown up, hanged, electrocuted, envenomated, um, choked. Need I go on? It's
You want
easier to
tough
say.
something,
Yeah, I'm a tough son bitch. I don't go down. I'm like a Tasmanian devil. I just keep coming back, you know. But that's just how I was raised. Like you said, don't give up. Don't
never.
quit. Life is always going to hit you the hardest. It's dependent upon if you can stand up and go, okay, bitch, do it again. You know, it depends on if you can stand up and take those hits, you know, and having a little bit of cushion
Hmm.
doesn't hurt to take those hits. So I only got this little bit I could say, and then I gotta go. But guys, life is gonna be the hardest thing we go through. And when you've already sacrificed years, and time, and health off your life to protect your country, the least your country could do is provide you with everything where you have to worry for naught. It was the same way for the Greeks, it was the same way for the Romans, it was the same way for the Vikings, it was the same way for the English. Why can't it be that way for the Americans? Why do we have to let people like Ian suffer? It's not right. So, guys, let's get ourselves a good prayer. And, no, I
Save
wasn't thrown out due to
travel
my mental
and
stuff.
Save American veterans. If you want to sign the petition to add a 2% surcharge to start paying veterans directly instead of paying the VA employees, because that's where all the money is right now. It
Yeah.
never reaches the veterans.
But no, my mental state was totally taken care of because of my medication. So now I lost my kids because of my mental state, because I didn't show up to the court on time, because I blew a tire and I was walking down the dead road trying to find a new tire. But and I had a female judge that was known for siding with women only, so I kind of got it. Was everything that could have gone wrong that day went wrong, and that's how I lost my kids. But it's okay. It's okay. Can't think about offending Jamie right now, or I'll start blubbering. But I got to head on out, man. And it's always been a joy to talk to you, brother. I'm glad you like the new setup.
Oh, make sure that you finish that Kickstarter for your dog, and set that bar for the donations to 1,000, because like I said, it's $500 for that operation for your dog, for the care for your dog, but there's going to be some aftercare for that, and you want to make sure
Yeah.
that fans can support you through your crisis. So
Where do I go to find that Kickstarter?
go to kickstarter.com,
Oh,
and
okay.
just go through, and it'll ask you, what is it for? Do you have a picture? Do you have, some medical doctor that says, okay, if you needed to get this done, how much would it be? So, because you need to put as much as information there as possible, so that anyone, not just the people who come to your channel, but anyone who likes to help and be a generous person, can see that and they can donate too. You were talking about putting your cash app, and I said, please send me an email so I can have. You should send me an email with your cash app anyway, because I want to make sure that my fans and my subscribers know of how good of a person you are and can just help you no matter what your emergency is. So please send that information to me. But when you set up a
It's actually
Kickstarter,
pretty easy.
when
It's
you
the
send
cash
that,
sign.
yeah, just I need to know the spelling, and just
Oh, the
yeah,
word
send it in
night.
an email.
KI.
Send it in an email, and your
Oh, yeah.
Kickstarter is going to be there so that everyone who's in your channel, they can use the Kickstarter, and everyone who doesn't know of you can see what you need and still help.
Thank
It
you, brother.
expands how we can help you. So
Thank you,
finish that
brother. I'll
Kickstarter.
definitely be thinking
I'm
about
going to
it.
be emailing you about that every single day until you get that done because I want to see you taken care of. All right?
No problem, man. It's starting to drizzle on me. I got to put my hat over the camera. Oh, shit. Hi, Mr. Snake. Sorry. You got a corn snake climbing up the tree over here.
I'll let you get back to that. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. No problem, man. We'll check you all later. I got to go, guys. It's starting to rain. All right, everybody. Love you. So great seeing you all. Can't